those who don't know me, I'm Jed Kornblue. I'm the Executive Director of CCAP. And on my screen to my side is Ben Wolf. Ben, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I am a CCNS coach and a CCAP coach / mentor. I raced bikes professionally for the better part of the last decade, and I'm here to share my experiences, both from the coaching standpoint, the racing standpoint, and the lifestyle standpoint.
Yeah. I see, just looking around the room here, we've got a lot of parents, juniors, coaches. So welcome everybody. You're obviously here because you care about the CCAP community. You want to learn a little thing or two about our experiences with indoor cycling and Zwift. So on that, I think we'll get started.
Awesome.
Let me make sure I'm sharing the right screen here. Okay. All right, so if you're here for intro to indoor cycling, you're in the right place. Intro to outdoor cycling will be sometime next year. It's my one and only joke for the night.
I doubt that.
So just a brief overview of what we're going to be covering tonight. Give you a little brief intro about our program, and then we're going to roll into the introduction to indoor cycling. We will be going through all the ins and outs of getting started on Zwift. If you're a seasoned Zwift rider, you might learn a thing or two from us about our equipment selection and how we run our meetups and how we run our racing program on Zwift. So we ask that you stick around, and if you've got some specific questions, we'd ask that you again save them until the end. We're going to go through equipment selection from basic to top shelf, the apps that we use when we run our programs on Zwift, including Zwift Companion and Discord. How we do our group riding and meetups, some basics on Zwift Racing, and then a few housekeeping bits on minors, privacy, and SafeSport regulations with regard to working with juniors.
And the other thing is, if you guys have any questions, I have the chat box open, so we'll read them, and then when we get to the Q&A, we'll start answering them in order. But I have the chat box open, and if there's something that pertains, we'll answer it right away.
And for those of you who are watching the rebroadcast live on Facebook right now, we're not going through that comment section. We'll be answering those after the fact, and this will live in perpetuity on our Facebook page as well as on YouTube. So if you've got comments, we ask that you jump into the Zoom. The link is on the CCAP Facebook page, so under the event section. All right, let's get started. So CCAP has been around since 2013. It's our mission to introduce cycling to Connecticut's youth and families. We're an organized statewide youth cycling league with programming ranging from mountain biking in the spring, road racing in the summer, and cyclocross in the fall. We also have a wide array of schools and community-based organizations that have youth teams under our umbrella. We're obviously adding a fourth season now with the introduction of Zwift. So we're trying to cover every aspect of cycling that we can for kids across the state. All right, so let's get into some essential equipment. We're assuming that everyone here knows what Zwift is. If you're unsure about what Zwift is, you can go to Zwift.com, but we're going to talk about a lot of concepts regarding Zwift tonight. Zwift is a massive multiplayer online game that allows the rider, similar to any other massive multiplayer online game like Fortnite or Among Us, you get on as a group, you play as a group, but with this one, you're riding and you're earning XP and power-ups, and you're earning equipment all through just riding on Zwift, and different levels of riding or racing will get you more equipment.
It is by far the most engaging indoor riding I've ever ridden, and I'm sure anyone ever has. It makes indoor riding the most fun it can be.
Yeah, before Zwift, we were stuck riding our rollers facing a brick wall in our basement, but now we actually get to look at avatars of each other, which makes it much more engaging. We're here to talk about the essential equipment that you're going to need to get started on Zwift. So some of the common items that you're going to need would be in your area, obviously a fan, a towel, some water bottles, headphones, and sport-specific items that you can use for cycling in general. A heart rate strap, We've got apps and interfaces that we're going to talk about and basic communication tools, and of course, the bike and the trainer. Special note, if you are registering for our upcoming program that starts on November 15th, that's our 15-week Zwift indoor session. We do have some special pricing through our pedal partners. We just need to make sure that you're signed up by November 9th because we are placing our equipment order on the 10th. And we can get into that on an individual basis. And what is Zwift really in essence?
So in essence, Zwift is a online video game for exercise. Zwift actually has running as well as bike riding. We focus on the bike riding side of things. And like we described earlier, it's a multiplayer video game where you have your avatars, you're racing with each other, you're riding with each other, and the avatar moves as hard as you pedal, and it's phenomenal.
It's about as close to real world riding as we can get during chilly Connecticut winters without having to deal with black ice. So Zwift, yeah, as Ben said, Zwift is an app. So it runs on your TV, on an iPad, or any other software interface. So there's basically three components: the Zwift app, which is the actual software. Then there's a Zwift companion, which is just that. It runs on a phone or a small tablet if you like. The Zwift companion enhances the game because you're allowed to use rider-to-rider messaging. You get a map view. You can access your power-ups. You can look at workout details in real time and change your game settings as you go. So you can use the companion app to change your view of the game. And if you're using the limited number of mountain bike courses with Zwift, you can actually use your Zwift companion app on your smartphone for steering on that mountain bike course.
The companion app is just much like, you know, the home button on any video game like Fortnite or anything, where you can actually control your guy, you can change things around, you can have fun, and it really enhances the game, like Jed was saying.
Right, but as you're running Zwift on your screen or your tablet, you can have Zwift Companion running on your phone. So you're still riding, you're still training, you're still with your group, but you can make those game setting changes as you roll. It's actually, I like it. It's a little bit better than playing games on PS4 or even on any other console where you're limited to one screen. You've got two here. We're also going to be running Discord on that same communications device or phone, which is the voice and text communication app that we're going to be using for this winter session. It also has video broadcast features, which we don't plan on getting into. But if you're familiar with gaming, you probably know what Discord is all about. Bear with me here. So the Zwift interface, we're gonna go through these one by one. We'll start with the Zwift interface, companion, and then Discord. So you need something to display Zwift, whether that's a desktop computer, laptop, iPad, Android tablet, or Apple TV. They all work well, and they all work pretty much the same. The view, or at least the interface, looks a little bit different. Android phones and iPhones do work to run the Zwift app, but there's too many limitations for what we like to do with our programming on Zwift, and we feel the screen's just a little bit too small to get the best experience. So we recommend that if you're going to be running the Zwift app, you use a desktop computer or laptop, iPad or Android tablet, or the Apple TV. I use the Apple TV. I've run desktops and laptops, but I found the Apple TV to be the most foolproof interface for Zwift.
And I mean, the bigger the screen you can have, the more, real world it feels. The more it takes up, the more you feel in the game. I use a tablet, so it's a nice small screen, but the bigger the screen you can access, the better.
So if you're using the desktop or laptop interface, you're going to connect to the Zwift app and your trainer using either the Ant Plus or Bluetooth LE communication interfaces. Bluetooth LE if your computer has a capability. Ben, do you have your Ant stick handy?
I do.
All right.
Let me just dig for it. Oh, here it is. So the Ant stick comes just like this, and it's just a little USB that you plug in, but the correct way to do it is to use the USB extension cord. So it plugs in here, and then I have like a probably 10-foot cable here, so I can connect it to my computer and drop it directly under my bike. Because with AMP Plus, you want it to be as close to the bike as it can be, so that the connection stays as good as it can be.
That's right. And plus, the only drawback with it is it does get a little bit messy with crosstalk. So you want that stick to be as close to the trainer interface as possible. If you're using an iPad or an Android tablet or the Apple TV, you're going to connect with Bluetooth LE. And again, it must be a separate device from the one that you're using for Discord or for Zwift Companion. So setting up a Zwift account, if you're over 16, is really simple. So we're going to cover under 16. Under 16, you have a couple of other steps you have to run through. So riders, if you're under 16, your parents can register you. Now, I said your parents. We want your parents to go in and register you at no cost for 1 year, but you have to follow a few steps. So parents, we need you to go to zwift.com/kids and register your child and give consent. When you go to zwift.com/kids, you'll have a form that you've got to fill out, and you've got to do that once every 12 months. So if you give consent now, or if you gave consent this time last year, and you're planning on riding with us starting in mid-November, you're going to have to go through this cycle before then, because free accounts take a few days to confirm. So we recommend that you register your child at least 1 week prior to our first event, and make sure that all your connections are working and that you don't have any issues with the Zwift account. And when you are setting up your Zwift account, make sure that your weight is accurate, because that will affect your avatar's ability within the game. And we want to be as close to your real life capabilities as possible.
Yeah, you want weight and height both accurate, because it both does the drafting off the CDA, which is, you know, your height and your coefficient of drag. So you want to make sure that both those metrics are typed in as accurately as they can be.
That's right. If you're over 16, your parents can sign up your account at Zwift.com. You're just going to pay the current monthly membership rate, which right now is $15 per month. You can pause the membership. I think you can pause it, or you can you can cancel it outright. But what do we recommend, Ben?
I recommend having Zwift all year. I have it all year because there's always one day that, one day every month at least, that you'd rather just hop on Zwift and not have to wash your bike, get wet. And it's just a great training tool.
And if we have another similar shutdown to what we had back in the spring, we'll obviously shift our CCAP road racing over to Zwift like we did back in July. So it's great to just have that account ready to go. All right, so communications. We keep talking about this communication device. And to answer a question in the chat, yes, you're going to have to sign up for Zwift for the app and for Discord. If you're joining us for our winter session, we will send you an invitation to sign up for our Discord voice channel. But for Zwift, you only have to sign up for the Zwift account one time, and that account will give you access to both Zwift and Zwift Companion. So we recommend getting a single separate device for using Discord and the Zwift Companion app. Now that can be a smartphone or a tablet. What a lot of folks do is they've got an old Wi-Fi enabled smartphone around the house that they're no longer using because of battery life, or they've moved on to the next phone. Wipe that phone and just use that for Discord and Zwift Companion, and just leave it next to the trainer, keep it plugged in.
And as long as it has access to the Wi-Fi, you can connect everything. So that is great.
Yeah.
And Discord is free.
Discord is free. That's right. Zwift Companion enhances the in-game features like power-ups, mapping, and you can change your difficulty within the game. So using Zwift Companion when you're not riding with us, you'll be able to figure out a lot of the in-game features. We won't be going through a lot of the in-game features until we get into our discussions about racing on Zwift, because that's where some of these things like power-ups really come in handy. And to communicate via the Discord voice app, you'll obviously need this, the separate device. There's a couple of comments in the chat regarding what won't work. Obviously, a Chromebook will not work. Chromebooks run on a very simple operating system. You need a Windows or Mac OS enabled computer. Those are the only computers that we would recommend for using Zwift. If you need more information about Zwift's requirements, we're going to send this PDF out to everyone who is here tonight. We'll post it on our Facebook page so you can access it easily. But there are links on Zwift's homepage on what their minimum requirements and recommended requirements for systems are. Amazon tablets also do not work for Zwift. So everybody's got a different trainer setup. Earlier this week, I asked for some of our CCAP families to send us photos of all of their trainer setups. And you can see from here, over here on the left, we've got, this is a setup from our house. That's a set of rollers with a bike on a fork stand and running an Apple TV. We've got a setup here with 4 bikes and various different interfaces. There's a smart trainer here, another rider with, who's got a small fan set up in a garage space. So you can see that there's a real wide array from a classic trainer to rollers to a wheel-on smart trainer to a direct drive smart trainer. All of these will work on Zwift. Some of them are better than others, and some of them give you access to better features because of their accuracy. But you can go with the very basic trainer setup to get started on Zwift. Anything to add to that, Ben?
No, there's just no wrong way to really go into Zwift as long as you have the basic setups, which we'll go over shortly. I mean, like if you see the middle of the screen here, I literally have my bike set up in my bedroom, and I take it down every time I ride it. But if you can have a garage space and keep it set up, it does make it that little bit easier. But it's also not that much of a pain to set up on a daily basis either. You just have to give yourself about 20 minutes before any ride.
That's right. So we've hyperlinked this section that goes through all the trainer options. I've created some basically buying packages on kit.co. So if you click on those links, you'll be taken to a basic indoor trainer setup, which includes a trainer, a heart rate strap, a speed sensor, some batteries, and a fan that we recommend. So when you're going back through the PDF, you can click on each of these and you'll be taken to a different kit build and get a good idea of what these items will cost. We've either taken you here to an Amazon page or to a partner site. So here's our 4 basic options from least expensive to most expensive. A basic or classic trainer, often referred to as a dumb trainer, a set of rollers, a wheel-on smart trainer, and then the direct drive smart trainer. So your basic or classic trainer is one that you're going to see pretty much anywhere. Ben, you want to talk about the classic trainer?
Yeah, so I mean, the classic trainer is what most of the parents on this call, and myself included, had used to, when we used to ride the trainers inside before smart trainers and Zwift really became a thing a couple of years ago. They are the most simplistic, best for travel, best for multi-use, just because they are so dynamic in the amount of bikes that you can put on there. You can adjust the wheel sizes. This is definitely the standard go-to trainer for multi-use and for travel, for warm-ups before races, for everything.
Right, so as you can see, the rear wheel goes in the trainer. This trainer that we've got as an example is what we would call a mag trainer or a magnetic trainer. Uses rare earth metals to create resistance. It's the most basic trainer you can find. They do have a limit on the amount of resistance. I think they cap out at about 1,000 watts or 1,500 watts. Not really.
It, so
not really
a limit for me.
We put some hyperlinks in here. These kinds of trainers are everywhere, especially since the proliferation of smart trainers on the market. Lots of people have these trainers in their garages and attics or just cast off in the basement. And you can get them for very little money. This Craigslist search is basically the greater Hartford area, 250-mile radius from West Hartford. And you can see here, you can find decent trainers for just entry-level trainers for $50, $65. This is a really, really inexpensive way to get started without having to make a huge investment in your trainer.
And it's also the most versatile because you can get the trainer to use for your winter training. You can also then take it to any of the mountain bikes, cyclocross or road races, to have it set up. It's very, easy to maneuver, and it's not as heavy as the smart trainers.
That's right. Cons, though, it does require the purchase of a speed sensor to connect to Zwift. Unlike a smart trainer, it doesn't have an automatic connection. And there's also lots of brands and lots of varying degrees of quality. So definitely buyer beware when purchasing used. Just like with anything, if you're buying instruments or bikes or any other high-end gear on the internet, for this particular item, please talk with your CCAP or local coach before making any purchase. If you have real reservations about any trainer that you might see, feel free to contact us at CCAP. We'll help you out. And any one of our pedal partners across Connecticut can give you some good recommendations if your budget's limited and you're looking more at a basic used classic trainer. If you are taking part in our program, we do have a limited number of trainers that we can loan out for the season as well. Just contact us.
I also have a trainer like this and a pair of rollers if anyone needs those too.
Thanks, Ben.
Yep.
Rollers. So Ben just mentioned rollers. This is what I used when I was a junior back in the olden days.
This is what I used up until about 2 years ago.
Yeah, we know quite a number of people that ride exclusively on Zwift on rollers, and they connect using their power meter or a speed sensor. Rollers are really the best way to develop great form and great pedaling efficiency during the off season. You'll often see people warming up on rollers at a race, and you can always tell the person who has ridden rollers all winter when you do those early spring races, because their form is just beautiful. I don't know if he's on the call tonight, but Jeremy Brazil is one of those guys that a local racer who trains exclusively on rollers, and he has got one of the most beautiful pedal strokes. Thanks to his time on the rollers. So these are driven driven by the rear wheel, and you can see there's a small band that connects to the front roller. So there's no locking the bike in. Rider has to maintain their balance to stay upright. If you don't stay upright, you don't maintain your balance, you're obviously going to fall over. It's happened to all of us, but you're not going that far. We just recommend that if you're going to use rollers, you put them up next to a wall or maybe a load-bearing pole in the basement so that you can have something to grab onto if things go a little bit awry.
And don't get discouraged. I have used rollers for the better part of a decade, and 3 months ago I was doing an effort on rollers and I fell off the front of them. So it still happens, and it's a very engaging way to ride indoors because you really have to focus on your balancing and keeping it as smooth and consistent as you can. You really notice what Jed was saying. If you start mashing on the pedals, you start bouncing a little bit more, and that's actually how I went off the front of the rollers a few months ago. So the rollers are definitely really good for an engaging and overall just bike handling practice.
One of our juniors, Kate Fravel, actually just dropped a comment in the chat. The Zwift Insider has tons of great articles on trainers for all levels. Thank you, Kate. That's true. And DC Rainmaker as well has quite a few trainer reviews if you like to spend time perusing those. I like rollers as well because they're highly adjustable. So if you've got multiple riders in the household, just like a rear wheel classic trainer, you can fit a wide variety of bikes. You can also transport them for warming up at races, especially if you have foldable rollers. If you want, you can add a fork stand because that sort of shortens or lessens the learning curve. But I would recommend that you just get started on the rollers by putting your bike on and turning over the pedals. You'll pick it up pretty quickly. Start with 10, 20 minutes and then work your way up to an hour. And before you know it, you'll be riding with no hands and, changing your clothes while you ride the rollers.
And even though I can ride them no hands, I still stay next to the wall just in case. So there's no shame in that.
Yeah, they are a challenge to master. You're like the classic trainer. You're gonna have to pick up a speed sensor to connect to Zwift. And you've got to maintain your focus. So they might not be the best choice for you if you have a hard time managing your Zwift companion app with a phone in one hand. But they're definitely, if you can master the rollers, you can do pretty much anything on the bike. And just like before in the last slide, we've done some links to Facebook Marketplace with archived searches. So we've pulled up rollers here. Some of these things are obviously not rollers, but you get the idea.
And to answer Brian's question in the chat, you can use the power meter with the rollers, just like you do on a classic trainer. As long as you have that Amp Plus stick under the trainer there, it'll pick up on the power meter. So if you have a power meter and you have either classic trainer or a pair of rollers, you can ride Zwift perfectly fine.
Yeah. All right, moving on. getting into smart trainers, the most basic smart trainer is the wheel on smart trainer. Now this looks like a basic or classic trainer. In fact, the first wheel on smart trainer that I owned was made by a company called Tax. It was the iMagic trainer. It was sort of a contemporary of the CompuTrainer. So this has an electronic control in the back that is works like a brake that creates creates real feedback. So you get resistance, you get a load on that rear drum. So this gives you a much more realistic ride quality over just a basic mag or fluid trainer, because as the Zwift avatar is riding over terrain, you can feel the load increase if you're going uphill, or decrease as you're descending.
The smart trainer definitely changes the game to the next level, because you do get that on the road feel. And even with the wheel on trainer, you really do feel the difference. You really feel like the grade when you're either going up or going down. It makes it that little bit more engaging.
These are also highly adjustable, though they don't work with all wheel sizes. Some have limitations. You won't be able to use a 24-inch wheel with most of these. So for younger riders, we recommend looking for a classic trainer that allows a 24-inch wheel. But these are great for multi-rider households. If you've got a parent and child that are both riding on Zwift, as long as you're not riding at the same time, you can jump on and off the kick or snap. That's just one. Tax has a handful of them. Connecticut's got a few. We recommend Kicker because we're big fans of the Wahoo platform. These connect really easily with Zwift, either via the Ant Plus or the Bluetooth LE interface. And these are legal for Zwift Racing League and the Zwift Power Rankings. Ben, talk to us about why, or at least about the differences between between Z Power and Zwift Power legal rankings.
Yeah, so the biggest difference is that Z Power is usually based off either a speed sensor and or just a power meter sensor. So it's not really, it's tough for the video game to then be able to really change the speed to the on the game feel, because the classic trainers or the rollers don't necessarily show the resistance if you're going up a climb or down a climb. So, if you're on one of those classic trainers or rollers and the wheel's spinning at 25 miles an hour, you could be going up a hill at 25 miles an hour, which isn't, super realistic for most of us, including myself and or hopefully anyone. If you're going up a hill at 25 miles an hour, you should be in the tour.
Yeah, the Z Power algorithm is more of an estimation of power based on your height, weight, and the load that you're putting out via the speed sensor and your heart rate. So it's not legal to use for the Zwift Power Rankings. You've got to have a smart trainer. So if you're planning on really getting into Zwift and really doing Zwift Racing, we recommend that you purchase a smart trainer. Now, some of the downsides of these is they're expensive. The cheapest smart trainers start at about $400. They're not very easily transportable because they're quite heavy. And because they require power, they're not a great option for pre-race warm-ups at events. And if you're using a non-Bluetooth interface, you also have to pick up the Ant stick and the extension cable that we talked about. However, wheel-on smart trainers are really, really great. And you can do a lot more with them than you can a classic trainer. But as we said before, you don't need a wheel-on smart trainer or any smart trainer to ride Zwift. You can add these other items. All right, and now the most accurate and most expensive interface is the direct drive trainer or the wheel off trainer. The one in the photo is a Zwift Kicker. This is the one that I use. It's the one that Ben uses. This provides the most realistic rider experience. And it's got the best power transfer because your chain is connected to the cassette that's on the trainer. There's a flywheel built into the trainer that helps provide the load along with the belt drive that goes to the brake. So this one really does feel like you're riding on the road.
It is quite incredible. I just got my first one of these last year, and it was totally game changing. You really do feel like you feel between the gravel. If you're racing on the gravel on the screen, you actually feel the resistance of riding on a dirt road compared to a paved road. You feel every little undulation in the road. It's wild.
Yeah, Wahoo is one of the brands that also has add-ons like fans or elevation simulators, all these things that enhance the ride quality. We didn't list it here, but you can also look into more expensive options like the Wahoo Kicker bike. There's also a bike made by Stages, one of our sponsors. These retail for about $1,100. And you can generally find some of the used ones. You can find other brands outside of Wahoo, but you're going to spend at least $750 to $1,300 on a direct drive trainer, which some of the drawbacks to them is that they are expensive. They're also not great for multi-rider households because just like your bikes, the chain line, your chain and cassette and chain rings sort of become married as you wear a groove into them. And swapping out that bike on the trainer, especially if you have maybe a junior who's on 10 speed, you might be on 11 speed. It just makes for a longer transition between users. I like to leave my trainer bike set up 100% of the time. That eliminates any issues to pre-ride setup, but I know that's not an option for everybody. Ben, you don't do that, do you?
No, I change mine on and off every time. I just have my one bike. So I usually, like I said earlier, I usually leave about 20 minutes before, a meetup. And I usually actually leave more than that, 30 minutes or so before a race to make sure I have the bike set up, all the connections are going, so it takes a little bit more time with these. But for me, I enjoy it. It's definitely worth it.
Yeah, if you have an opportunity to go to one of our pedal partners, most of them have a trainer set up in their, on their showroom floor. A lot of them have the Wahoo trainers set up on the showroom floor. So if you're curious, definitely about any of these items, definitely go and visit one of the CCAP pedal partners and try out any of the trainers that we discussed. Talk about it with the folks on the sales floor. They've got lots and lots of great information, and Gary Nickel, who owns Pedal Power, he's on Zwift quite a bit. I see him on the platform all the time, so he can talk to you about his experiences as well. Same with Jeff Geld, who owns Central Wheel. Oh, we've got a question here in the chat. Ben wants to know who some of the pedal partners are. Good question from my son. You can go to ctbikes.org. There's a whole list of pedal partners on the website. I mentioned two. Pedal Power's got 5 locations statewide. We've got Outdoor Sports down in Wilton, Morrissey, Wayfarer, Mystic Velo, Central Wheel, Cycling Concepts. I know I'm going to miss one, but if you go to the website, you're going to see that whole list of bike shops that we recommend that work with us and sponsor junior programs. So we want to make sure that we funnel some business their way. All right, so we talked about trainers. Now here's everything else you need. And a lot of this you might already have around the house. One of the most important things is a heart rate strap. We like the Wahoo Ticker. And though we didn't forget the E, that's how they spell it. They're pretty much bomb and foolproof. They're very inexpensive. You can get them for under $40. Most places. They're probably running a sale coming into November now.
I got one right here.
Yeah. So Ben, hold that up for us. So if you can see Ben here in the video, it's got 2 snaps on either side. They create a circuit. And the chest strap is what's got the sensors in it. That little thing sends the transmission to your head unit if you're riding outside, or to your trainer interface. It's got a small CR 2032 coin battery in the back. You've got to change it every once in a while, but otherwise they're great. I will say that if you're going to get one of these, definitely remember to wash it. They get pretty disgusting. You want to take that sensor off the front, stick it next to the trainer, throw the strap in the washer. Fan is another really important thing. Ben, talk to us about airflow when you're riding the trainer.
So when we're riding outside, we have the benefit of moving through the air to cool us down, to help. When we're riding inside, we're very stale. So we always want to keep the air moving around us, and especially onto us, especially if it's some cold air. If you can open a window and have the air blow in, it is super important to keep your core temperature down. So when I have my Zwift set up, I usually have the windows wide open, and I have 3 fans on me. I don't have anything special for fans. I have a box fan, I have a very small fan, and then a kind of a medium-sized Honeywell fan. So I just have them set up at like almost 360 degrees around my body to try to keep myself as cool as I can.
Yeah, having a fan, it makes a huge difference. One of our friends, Holden Camo, is the Zwift national champion, and he runs two of these. I'll click on the link so you can see it. Two of these Lasco high velocity, the X blower utility fan. These are the sort of fans that you see when, if you have an unfortunate flood in your house, the folks who come to do remediation will bring these fans in to dry things out. They really, really work. He's got two of these blowing. He's also got a dehumidifier and an air conditioner running. Now, we're not recommending that you go all out and do that, but a couple of high velocity fans will really be a game changer for you. It will be noisy. So if you're using a microphone and communicating on Discord, and you're working with us during our session, we ask that you don't point the fan directly at your face. It's really important to have your core being cooled off by the fan. So, blow it at your chest. Ben has a fan that blows at your back, right? While you're riding?
Yep. I literally 360 degrees around me as best I can with 3 fans is where I have them all going. The other thing, and we'll talk about this more, I think, at the next meeting, but with the Discord, there is ways to make your sensitivity go down so we don't necessarily hear the fan noise and everything, but we can go over that at a later date.
Yeah. Let me make sure we get some questions in the chat here. Oh, Tim Moses says the fans with remotes are also great. Yeah, I used one of those till I burned it out. Those are pretty good. Towels. Yes, I would hope that everybody has towels in their house. You can pick up a pack of towels from Costco or Amazon. I recommend you get a little basket, or you have a shelf maybe near your trainer. Just keep a stack of clean towels there. As you do your bike laundry, your kit laundry, throw the towels in. Always start your ride with a fresh towel. You can drape the towel over your handlebars to use to mop your face as needed. I like to have 2 towels because I sweat a lot, and I usually have a lot of stuff coming out of my nose when I'm on the trainer. So I've got one for my nose and one for my face. Or you can just do what Ben does. He uses a big beach towel and he uses the whole thing for all of Ben.
I use the corners for blowing my nose, and I use the middle for cleaning off my face.
Yeah, that works.
As long as you have a beach towel, it's big enough. I wouldn't recommend it with a small hand towel.
Yes, no, Brian, I don't mix the two. In fact, last year I was using a yellow towel for my nose and a white towel for the rest of me. Water bottles. We're not outside. We don't have wind blowing on our faces outside of the fans, and our core temperatures are going up much faster. So any bike bottle will do. We recommend at least 1 bottle per hour of riding, but always fill 2. 1 bottle should have just plain water, and maybe the other bottle can have something like Cliff hydration mix or your other favorite hydration mix. You need to replace those electrolytes that are lost, especially during our longer and more intense sessions. Discord requires a communication device, and it's not a good idea to use a smart speaker or a Bluetooth speaker, because that's going to pick up all the ambient noise from your trainer or from music that you might have playing, or household stuff going on. So we recommend getting just a basic corded headphone set, as long as it's got a microphone built in. Any $10 pair from CVS or a $20 pair at Amazon will work. I like sort of similar to what I'm wearing now. I like an over-the-ear headphone because I don't have a hat on, but I'm bald, and I've got big ears, so I sweat a lot. And I've tried earbuds, and they tend to fall out of my ears. You've got to try what works best for you, and that's what works best for me. Ben, what kind of headphones do you use when you're on the trainer?
I actually have been using these ones recently, just because it's Bluetooth, so I can have my phone sitting away. But I will actually use a lot of the times, especially if I can get it really cold in the room that I'm Zwifting in, I'll use just the normal Apple headphones, and just keep the phone in a bag in my pocket. That way, the sweat won't ruin any nicer headphones we have.
Yeah, Ben and I have both made the mistake of using really nice headphones and ruining them after one season on the trainer. If you do decide to spend a little bit of money and get Bluetooth headphones, you don't have to spend too much, but make sure you get ones that are definitely sweat proof. There's a great headphone set that I use for gym workouts from Jam. That's a Jam Out there. I've got it mentioned here in the presentation, and I think they're usually between $40 and $50. And they've got, I think, a 17 or 18 hour battery life, so they last quite a while. The last item here on accessories, we recommend that you use a trainer tire. You can go to your local bike shop. Hopefully they've got them in stock. I know this has been a tough year for bike shops with inventory, but trainer tires are different from the tires that you use on the road. So if your bike is going to live on the trainer this winter, or if you've got a separate wheel to use, if you've got a rear wheel trainer, we recommend that you get a trainer tire. They don't have the protective casing that helps you with flat protection when you're out riding on the road, and they don't have a tread. So they're not a tire that you want to use out riding because you'll slide with them. But they are designed to dissipate the heat, and they won't wear out quite as quickly as a nice road tire that you might be using.
That's a good point. If you, whatever bike you have on the trainer, if you have an older tire or you can get a trainer tire, use those. If you have one of the on-wheel trainers, like a classic trainer or their smart trainer that's wheel drive driven, just to make sure you don't wear out the good tires you ride on the road.
Otherwise, you can use pretty much any type of tire. So any road tire that you have around. If you're a cyclocross rider or a mountain biker, please don't use your knobby tires. Get a slick tire. You can get a slick tire from any of your local bike shops, our pedal partners, or if you want to go online and pick them up. The knobby tires are definitely going to hold you back.
Not only that, they're going to be so loud that you won't even hear yourself think.
Yeah. If you're going back and forth, between road and trainer, and you only have one bike, it might be worth it for you to maybe pick up an extra rear wheel so that you can just swap that wheel instead of changing your tire all the time. Unless you want to get really good at changing your tires this winter.
It's a good practice, especially for a lot of these juniors.
Oh yeah. Okay, I'll take it back. All right, so now we're in the game. We got all the hardware figured out for actually getting onto Zwift. We're not going to go through how to set up your avatar on Zwift, because that's really a personal thing. When you start out on any game, you want to build your avatar how you want. But the one thing that's really important on Zwift is picking the right virtual bike. So you're going to set up your rider with your specific kit, the shoes you want. And as you build experience throughout the game, you'll be able to add items. Ben, why do we not recommend using the TT bike or the mountain bike?
So the road bike is the bike that you can get the draft on. You get and feel the draft effect, and it's just the faster bike. So we want to make sure that we're all on a similar road bike. It doesn't have to be the exact same road bike, but we all want to be on the road bike frame, because then we can all draft each other and we all have the same capabilities as far as speed and everything. The time trial bike will not allow a draft. I mean, you will not be able to draft on the time trial bike. People can draft off you, but you don't feel any of the effect on the draft. And the mountain bike, just like we're trying to ride a mountain bike on the road with road bikers, it's just significantly slower. So we always go with just a standard road bike setup on Zwift.
Yeah, and don't worry, you're not going to be stuck with that first bike that you pick. Just like with any other game, you can see it here up from the screenshot that I've got. You level up, and you level up by riding more on Zwift. And as you level up, you get access to better equipment. And if you can see it here, I'll highlight it with the pointer here. See, there's this little sweat drop and about 11,432,670 drops. Those are things that you earn, similar to XP, and you can spend those drops in the drop shop. And the drop shop is basically your online bike shop. So this is a screen from the Cannondale section of the drop shop, which allows you to buy up to Super 6 Evo or the System 6. There are different bikes on Zwift for what reason, Ben?
Just for user variety. So you can kind of pick and choose your favorite brands, your favorite makes, your favorite models. You get to change the colors. You get to change the wheels. Getting the drops becomes quite addictive. So you always want to keep riding, just because you just see the drops just kind of ticking through, and they come pretty fast. Like you're getting just a constant stream of them, but usually you have to usually get up to 100,000 drops to be able to upgrade to the next thing. So it does take a little bit of time, but you can just watch them tick by, and it's a blast. It's
honestly, it's more, it drives you to be on Zwift more, to earn more drops. And the harder rides and races that you do, the more drops you're going to earn. The one thing I love about Zwift is that I ride a Super 6 Evo, and I love it from Cannondale, but I've got a stable of bikes on Zwift that I can choose from: wheels, TT bikes, road bikes. It's pretty cool. I basically have all my dream bikes in my Zwift garage.
It's like being a full-on pro with being able to choose whatever bike you want for any given situation. And, as you get more experience, get more drops, and get more bikes and equipment in your garage, you actually start to then pair different equipment with different courses. You can pick lighter equipment for the hillier courses, more aero equipment for the flat courses. It just becomes your own little sanctuary. That's a blast.
Yeah. And we've mentioned Zwift Insider. There's a whole article that Brian just dropped in the chat that sort of details what bikes are great for what courses. So definitely check that out. All right, meetups and racing. These are the two main ways that we train with CCAP riders on Zwift. And so we're going to go into some details on those. So meetups are just like your local group ride. They're invite only. These are just private meetups, and we have them locked down for CCAP so that only CCAP riders can come into these meetups, CCAP riders and coaches, and only we can communicate in game with each other for using the chat feature. However, getting into meetups takes a little bit of getting used to. Once you get onto Zwift and if you're working with CCAP for our winter program, or you're being coached by one of our coaches, that coach or ride leader, they're going to send you a connection or friend request, just like on another game, or like the PlayStation platform. You'll get a friend request. That way you can game with that person. Please accept it. Otherwise, we won't be able to invite you to the meetup. So once we've sent you that friend request and you've accepted it, we'll schedule meetups a few times a week. We'll invite you. The next time you load Zwift or Zwift Companion, either one, you'll see a meetup invitation. On Zwift Companion, it shows up at the top on your events. On the Zwift app, it shows up on the upper right-hand corner when you load it. You're going to have to do this for any group ride that we're doing as a group for CCAP. You'll need to go through the meetup function. We do it for all group rides, workouts, and races. If you're joining us for our program, we have a separate Discord voice and text channel. You'll get a separate invitation to that once you sign up for our Zwift winter program. You can also set up your own Discord voice server if you like, if you're riding on Zwift with just your friends. We recommend that you log into Zwift and Zwift Companion, both, as well as a Discord server, at least 20 minutes prior to the ride start, to make sure that you don't have connection issues or communication issues. And if we're doing a race or a hard interval workout, we recommend that you get in 30 minutes prior to also get warmed up. This is really, really crucial. Ben, talk to us about warming up for Zwift races.
So, the Zwift Racing, and we're going to get into a little bit more of the Zwift Racing on the next slide, but it's warming up for a Zwift race and warming up for a Zwift meetup is the same thing as you want to warm up for like a hard group ride or a hard workout, right? You always want to spin around and get the legs moving for at least 10 or 15 minutes, maybe getting a couple efforts just to get the blood pumping, get the heart rate up so you're ready to go once we get going. I generally leave about 20 minutes of riding before any meetup or race. So that means I would get on and log on to make sure all my bike connections are good. Zwift is set up at least 30 minutes early, so I can be on the bike 20 minutes early and kind of get my legs spinning. So that's very important.
Staying with the meetups, all of our rides and workouts that use the meetup function, that we use the keep the ride together option on Zwift, which we also call the rubber band. So as long as you keep pedaling, you're going to stay with the group at your own pace. So if we're doing a specific workout that calls for, let's say, I know this is a higher level concept, we're doing maybe 2.5 to 3.0 watts per kilogram, which is how we set our pacing on Zwift. You're not able to hold 3.0, and maybe you're holding 2.0, you're still going to ride along with us. So it's a difference of, if we're out on the road and I'm riding 25 miles an hour and you can't hang with me on the road, you'll be able to hang with me on Zwift as long as you keep your legs moving.
And you have to keep pedaling. That is the only thing. When you were in the rubber band effect, as long as you're pedaling, you'll stay with the group. But if you have to get off your bike to go get some more food or refill a water bottle, the rubber band will snap and leave you there once the freewheel stops moving and the sensors stop being engaged.
Yeah, so if you've got to get off the bike to maybe use the bathroom, or if maybe you left your water bottle upstairs, just communicate on the Discord server or in the chat with the coach, and we can get everybody to pull over. But we try to limit those stops because it gets really difficult to stop and start on Zwift. This is why I don't know if you've noticed, but we're really impressing upon everybody the idea of preparation before your ride. Have everything in your Zwift area before the ride starts. We really want you there 20 to 30 minutes before we start the ride, so that you're not forgetting the bottle, the towel, the heart rate strap, your shoes, whatever.
I mean, if you're like Jed always keeps a table next to him with extra bottles and food and towels, just so he doesn't even have to worry about getting off his bike at all. Once he's on his bike and clipped in, he is there. And I do the same thing.
That's right. Yeah, every Saturday in the winter, I do a 3-hour ride on Zwift with a few of our coaches, and I just line my bottles up. I line gels up next to those bottles, so that I don't even have to think about getting off the bike. It's really convenient. Races that we're running as a group that we'll be running the meetup feature, they will not have the rubber band enabled. They're races. So our goal is to ride really hard. We're going to have race results posted at the end that will only be visible to those who are in the race. If you do get dropped, finish. You got to finish the race. Always finish the race. If you pay money to go and line up in real life, you're not just going to drop out if you get dropped. You're going to maybe look back and see that there's a group behind you. Well, the same thing works on Zwift, right, Ben?
Yep. So, the general rule of thumb is if you've committed to doing the race, you're going to complete the race no matter what it takes. I can't tell you guys how many stories I have of being 20 minutes off the back of any bike race, and you just settle into your pace and you just make sure you get to the finish line. That's exactly what we'll be doing here, and especially in Zwift races, because we'll go over that again in a second. But Zwift racing is a very unique form of bike racing.
Let's talk about e-racing. All right, Ben, I'm gonna let you take this one.
So e-racing is its own discipline. It's the difference between cyclocross, criterium racing, and time trials. So it has a little bit of a learning curve. So, when you get in there, you have to expect the entire race is going to be very hard. And the reason the whole race is going to be hard is because since it is on the online game platform, we don't have to worry about steering our bikes, moving through people. We don't have to worry about crashing or anything. So everyone can just have their head down and pedal as hard as they can at all times. So that being said, the starts of a Zwift race may be the hardest thing you've ever done. So you have to be aware that as the banner is counting down from 10 seconds, you are fully ramping up to a 9 out of 10 type effort, so that when the banner drops, everyone takes off and you're able to go with them. It's not like a normal race where everyone clips in and goes from the gun. Everyone is already going full gas at 4 seconds to go. So expect the first 3 to 5 minutes of any Zwift race to be very hard. Everyone has adrenaline going. Everyone's excited. And the effort's going to start to catch up to them. But expect to start at a 9 out of 10 and be pretty close to that 9 out of 10 for the first 3 to 5 minutes before everyone settles in, takes their first breath, and realizes that this is way too hard. We got to meter it down a little bit. Pack skills are something that's a little bit difficult to deal with because you don't really have control over where you're going. So you have to know that when your avatar is on the hoods and sitting more upright, that you are in the draft and you're okay. The draft will work to about 4 meters back, and it tells you that warning. So as you're dropping back behind a rider, it'll say something like close the gap, and then it'll tell you 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meters, and 4 meters. Up to that 4 meter, you are still in the draft, and that is okay. And when you are in the drops and below, that means you are in the wind and you are doing the brunt of the work for anyone behind you. So when you're moving around in the pack, you should, it's not necessarily about navigating the pack as much as it's just maintaining the effort of the group. So when we're doing a Zwift race, you'll see this kind of banner on the side that's going to be telling you all the people around you, and it's going to be telling you the efforts that they're doing. So as long as you are matching their efforts and you are in the group, you will be in the group and you will feel the benefit of the draft. You don't have to be at the front. You don't have to be at the back. It's very easy to move through the group. Since we don't have to worry about steering, all you have to do is just press on the pedals a little bit harder and your guy just shoots through. And when you want to ease up, you just ease off the pedals a little bit and he'll just come back. There is a 3-second delay between any of the connections and then the actual avatar in the game. So you always have to be aware of that. And we'll talk more about that as we get into the Zwift racing season, which for us will begin in December with some club races. There is the 3-second delay, meaning when you step on the pedals and really start sprinting at the base of a hill or for a sprint, there's going to be 3 seconds between when you start the effort and when the avatar displays the effort. So it's just something to be very, very aware of.
And this is something that you can get used to if you're signing up for Zwift maybe this week, and just free riding around the course. There are sprint banners all over Zwift. There are KOMs all over Zwift. So if you see a sprint coming up, start your sprint 3 seconds or just a little bit before that sprint actually starts, and you'll be up to speed. Obviously, you're going to have to go a little bit longer, but you'll find that you're sprinting much harder and faster than the riders around you.
Exactly. And then the one thing about Zwift Racing is everyone will end up getting dropped at some point. I think I still get dropped from the lead group in almost every Zwift race I do, but you can always come back, right? So it's just like a normal bike race where if you get dropped, you have to keep on the pedals and keep pedaling really hard because there's people around you who've been dropped. There's always someone else that has been dropped, and there's always someone else that you can get a group going with and try to catch on. So it's really important that even if you're dropped, you are not out of the race. You are not out of the race until the race is finished. So always keep on the pedals and don't worry about it. There's plenty of time to experience. As we keep going through these races together, we're going to be gaining that experience together and be learning exactly how the game works, and we will all catch on.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we get that's right. Brian Wolf said, amen, getting dropped is part of learning. It absolutely is. We have another question here that we're going to get to in the Q&A section. I feel like that'll be a good one for discussion. All right, so just a little bit about minors, privacy, and SafeSport. When a minor signs up for Zwift, their chat features are automatically disabled. You have to go in and change the in-game messaging. We recommend that you keep those off. Any coaches involved in a CCAP program are SafeSport certified, meaning they've all gone through the federally mandated anti-abuse program training. If you've got more questions on that, you can go to safesport.org. We're limiting all the in-game communications to our Discord voice channel. We'll always have at least 2 coaches or a coach and a parent on that Discord channel. Our CCAP registered coaches are invited to join our winter session at no charge, so they can help us out with this as well. Please help us comply with SafeSport rules by following this communication protocol. And obviously your child's health and wellness are at the utmost important to us. We will not tolerate abusive or offensive language or behavior on any of our rides or races on either Discord, on Zwift, and that means in or out of training or competition. Any violation of these rules will receive just 1 warning, and any continuations of a violation, you'll be asked to leave the program without a refund. We want this to be as positive of an experience as possible. We want everybody to come away from this feeling great about bike racing and feeling great about the team that we're trying to build here. And that's part of our core values here at CCAP. So we're going to open this up in just a minute to Q&A, but I want to do one last plug for the CCAP Indoor Winter Youth Cycling Season. You can go to Bike Reg and search CCAP-Winter. We've got quite a few riders on this webinar that have already registered for it, and I know we've got quite a few more that are interested in it. We're going to be running this program for 15 weeks. Ben is our head coach for the program. We'll be doing workouts on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 p.m. and we'll start racing in December on Wednesdays. But this is a great program. Ben, can you tell us just a little bit more about the structure of the program?
Yeah, so we're structuring this very much as like a build phase from, going in off-season mode, which most of us are in now, straight into the racing mode. And we'll be using the Zwift races come December to kind of get that high-end effort. But for the most part, the Tuesdays and Thursdays workouts will be to build that good aerobic base and build our fitness up and get ready for the race season ahead.
That's right.
And we
go ahead. Sorry.
So the series does, or the season does start on November 15th, but I believe that we will be accepting applications and people to join up until December 1st.
That's right. We're going to keep registration open until December 1st. We know some people are not sure what they're doing for winter sports yet. I know statewide here in Connecticut, some sports leagues are still going forward. Some are waiting to see what happens if we actually go back to phase 3. So we're going to keep the registration rolling. Don't worry. The first 2 weeks of our program, we're going to be covering some basics that we can cover with you on a one-on-one basis. It's really just getting used to the program, getting used to riding together. That's why we're not starting our racing until December. So you'll have some time. Obviously, those who have already registered, you're going to get great value out of those first couple of weeks of training. So, we expect to see you on the 15th, ready to go. Oops, sorry, hang on. Just a couple of, I did include a pre-ride checklist that's on this PDF. We're going to send this PDF out to everybody. We're going to post it on our Facebook page, and we'll put it in our next newsletter next week, so that you can have a recap on what we've done here. Just a basic on, what you're going to need for every ride, what to do before your workout, what to do just before we get going. All right, so I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to end the screen share. We're going to get into Q&A. All right. So we've got some questions here that we didn't get to. The most recent one, if you miss a session, will there be a guide or workout that they can follow to make up that session? Yes, the answer is yes.
Sorry. I was reading the questions too. The answer is yes, and we can, definitely, make up for that and maybe have a chat on Discord and, get everyone caught up to speed.
That's right. 2 questions. Hang on a minute. Are we rolling out a team for the ZRL? Likely, Cade. So let's talk about that. I know
that'll be good.
You're on my list, dude.
All right, what else we got? I'm going to go back up to the top to get some of these questions up here.
How does a heart rate monitor talk to the system? The heart rate monitor talks to the system using either the ANT Plus protocol or the Bluetooth protocol. You do not need ANT Plus if you're using an Apple TV. I use Apple TV. It's all Bluetooth, and it's as far as I'm concerned, it's seamless. I started out on Zwift. So I started out on Zwift during the beta test in 2013 with the original Kicker trainer, and Zwift was just like this, this oval shaped island with only a few thousand users. And ANT Plus was really buggy back then. I'm really glad that Bluetooth is now kind of becoming the real standard for Zwift.
And so Brian, actually earlier when we were talking about the ANT Plus stick and the extension cord, he made a good point that since ANT Plus is, we need it to be as close as we can, but there is limitations on, the length of the cable. So usually you can find the 3-foot cable on Amazon, which is plenty to get it under the bike. And so having the shorter cable will keep the connection stronger. So just make sure that you find, you do want a cable and you do want it to be extended so it's sitting under your computer. But I agree that my 10-foot cable may be a little bit excessive. So, the 3-foot cables on Amazon will work perfectly.
Gearing during a race is just like gearing on the road. Yes, Mark. So thanks for that question. The question was, I just answered it. If you're riding on Zwift, you're riding up and down hills, you're going to be shifting through your cassette just like you would. You're going to be mostly using your big chainring unless you're not a great, as nimble of a climber. I'm not a great climber on Zwift. I'm in my small chainring. I think anybody who's riding out the Zwift is probably in their small chainring as well.
And there is times if you have the smart trainers, whether it's wheel on or their direct drive, that you do spin out. So once the speed gets up over, 35, 40 miles an hour, just like the road, you'll spin out. So the gearing is very similar.
Ben asked, what time should you start pedaling in a race? I don't know if I understand that question. You've got to pedal all the time, but maybe when the race starts, you want to be sort of at your max at the beginning. So as the clock, Ben mentioned this earlier, as the clock is ticking down with 10 seconds to go, start revving up, get up to speed. And as soon as that banner drops, you're going. You can expect to go full gas for 2-3 minutes until the race settles in.
And do remember that there is that 3-second delay. So at 4 seconds to go, you want to make sure that, you're fully on the pedals and ramped up, because there is that delay and you want to account for that delay for the start.
Kevin, I don't know if the forearm heart rate monitors are as good as the chest heart rate monitors. I trust the chest ones. I would assume that any product made by Wahoo is going to work as well as the previous products or better. So I imagine there's plenty of reviews. I would check Zwift Insider to see if there's any information on that. Morgan mentioned North Pole Engineering makes a device that turns Ant Plus to Bluetooth, and dropped a link here in the chat. So if you're using an Ant Plus product and want to convert to Bluetooth, go ahead and click that link. I'll make sure we pull that one out so that we can include it in our post-event notes. Let's see, Ben, did we miss any other questions here? Oh, there was a question from Red. Will there be multiple ZRL teams for people that want to race but aren't as fast? We're not there yet. Cade mentioned this, and we have sort of been tossing around the idea of doing ZRL teams for juniors. I will say that Zwift as a company is not, they're not going all in on juniors because of some issues regarding privacy and safety with kids. It's really, really hard with a massive multiplayer online game to manage SafeSport. So there used to be, I think 2 or 3 years ago, there were junior leagues on Zwift. But at the moment, there isn't anything specific to juniors that's, I guess, managed by USA Cycling.
And the Wednesday races will be the club race format, just like the Tuesday night crits are. So we'll all start together and it'll naturally just break up into the separate groups there.
Yeah. We've had a few questions about the Stages sponsorship. So Stages has come on board as a sponsor for this program, and we'll be working with them a little bit more in 2021. We're not offering discounts on power meters just yet. Like all the other companies in the bike industry, Stages has had some supply chain issues. They are making power meters as fast as they possibly can right now. Even the sales guys, their desks have been converted into manufacturing space in Colorado. So we're going to let those guys get caught up with their capacity before we start asking them for discounts on power meters. But they will be providing us with all sorts of goodies to give out for our races, which we'll be mailing to race winners each week. Ben mentioned the Jam headphones are an amazing pick on Amazon. Thank you, Ben.
And also just in case we are, like, for anyone signed up for this Winter League program, we are doing, like Jed mentioned at the beginning of the call, we are doing an order if anyone needs any extra stuff. But signed up for their Zwift Winter League here.
That's right. We're going to be placing the order next week on the 10th. Coach Jeff recommends using part of a bike sweat guard to keep your top tube, stem, and handlebars clean and dry. You can find those pretty much anywhere. I've got an old one from CycleOps that just lives on the trainer. It's got a little elastic that attaches to the seat post and then Velcros around the front of my handlebars. That will definitely keep your headset as rust-free as possible. We'll be talking about bicycle maintenance on the trainer. You're obviously sweat's falling from your face and from your body, getting all over your bike. You want to make sure when you're done riding, you wipe off the bike, you wipe off your handlebars, and maybe a couple of times during the winter season, you unwrap your bar tape and rewrap them because you'll see that there's lots of disgusting corrosion that gets under your handlebar tape from sweat, which can lead to a catastrophic failure of your handlebars if it builds up too much. There are lots of Instagram feeds of, I think Your Bike Hates You is one that, from bike shop mechanics. And this time of year, it's all bikes with corrosive sweat all over the handlebars. So it is a real thing.
And to go on Jed's towel talk, that's why I use the beach towel, because I can drape it over my handlebars and half the top tube and it collects everything for me.
Gunnar, thanks for that point. Music stands work great for holding tablets, laptops, and phones right near the handlebars. That's until I got my little table, that's what I used. They're also really good if they're stable for holding iPads or other peripherals. If you're just riding, you want to read, music stands are great. And they're also great if you're practicing your instrument while you're riding.
I actually didn't even think of that. That's genius.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
All right. So if there aren't any other questions, I think we got to everything here. Just scrolling through. Oh, Will Rickard asked, how do we get onto Discord and talk to each other? I think maybe I covered that, but if and when you register for our winter program, we're going to send out an invitation to the voice channel. We've got a specific voice channel that's just for juniors and coaches. That's really all you need. If you're already on Discord, great. If you're not, go ahead and set up an account. It takes very little time. But I want to thank everybody for coming out. This is a big group and a great group. If you have any follow-up questions, you can email us or get to us through Facebook. As I said, we're going to post this PDF so that everybody can access it. I want to thank Ben for helping us build this program this winter, and for CCNS for loaning him to us for this 15-week program, as well as Stages Cycling and Wahoo Fitness for their help with acquiring product. And a special thanks, I know you're listening, to Monica Stokes for helping us make this presentation look less like a boring outline and a much better, beautiful slide deck. So Monica, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And please don't hesitate to reach out with questions, guys. Like any question anyone has, these videos, like Jed said earlier, it is now archived, or is going to be archived on Facebook, and it'll also be on the YouTube channel. So if you have quick questions, or if anyone missed this and you want to share it with someone, you'll have the ability to do that.
Yeah, and on that, I'm going to try and get to the Facebook comments. So bear with us. I don't even have that browser open. So if there's lots of comments there that you were hoping to get answered, we'll get to those tonight or tomorrow. So thank you very much. And I guess we'll see you on Zwift. All right. Good night, all.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.